Everyone. Morning. All right. I am incredibly excited to announce two new candidates for the Progressive Labor Party in the upcoming general election. But before I get to that, I want to make sure that I reiterate some points. As yesterday, Senator Crystal Caesar and MP Tanae Ferbert spoke passionately about this government's record on women and families. Today, we have two more qualified women to roll out. And with this rollout and the rest to come, I can confirm that the Progressive Labor Party, the party that gave us such incredible leaders like Dame Jennifer Smith, Paula Cox, and Dame Lois Brown Evans, and dozens of ministers of government and MPs, will be running more women on our election slate than at any time in the party's history. We certainly have more work to do, but I'm proud of empowering and uplifting women in positions of leadership. Senator Caesar and MP Ferbert gave some great information, and yet because there wasn't political intrigue and because it was good news and not bad news, there was little coverage given to it. On the doorstep, we often hear, "What is your plan?" Yesterday, we outlined part of our plan focused on women and families, but I'm concerned that not enough people heard it. I believe that it is quite important for Bermudians to know our accomplishments and our vision and plans for the future. So please allow me a few minutes to reiterate these important points. Senator Caesar noted that we have a number of plans in the work, including the implementation of the living wage, the creation of the Victims' Compensation Fund, and the reform of financial assistance to move people back to work, and using the BEDC to empower women-owned businesses, especially in the growth industry known as the caring industry. This constitutes part of our vision for what we will do when we earn the trust of the people again. MP Ferbert spoke about some of the government's many accomplishments, including the expansion of paid maternity leave to 13 weeks and the introduction of 5 days paid paternity leave. She spoke about the introduction of the Public Sex Offenders Registry, along with increased penalties for child sex offenders and mandatory rehabilitative and therapeutic programs. Finally, she spoke of childcare standards for daycare centers, which are making these facilities safer and more responsible. And of course, it is important that we do not forget that it was the PLP government years ago that introduced the daycare support program. When voters are judging what a party will do in the future, it is critical that they look at our record. And when it comes to women and families, it is clear that this party has made steady progress. With that said, we have two incredible team members to announce today. But before I introduce them, I would like to say a few words about an incredible representative for the people. And that gentleman is here today, and his name is Michael Scott. MP Michael Scott served in the Senate from 1998, and during his time in the Senate, he also served as the government leader. He was then elected to the House of Assembly in 2004. And since that time, MP Scott has ably served the constituents of Sands North. During his tenure, the constituency was transformed. Dockyard was expanded to accommodate the massive cruise ships that dominate the industry today. This expansion assisted entrepreneurs to expand as a result of increased visitors and tourists. The Anchor Boys Club was awarded their very first Drum Major Award for their contribution to the community and are neighbors, I would say, of MP Michael Scott. MP Scott also served in the cabinet on a number of occasions, holding several portfolios, including that of Attorney General, Minister of Health, Minister of Legislative Affairs, Minister of Telecommunication and E-commerce, and Minister of Government, Estates, and Information Services. MP Scott has never been afraid to stand up for working people and on issues of justice, fairness, and equality for all Bermudians. And on behalf of a grateful party, I want to thank you, MP Scott, for your continued service, for your service to this country, for your service to this party, and we look forward to hearing about you and your future endeavors as you step away. So I'm going to ask everyone in attendance to please recognize and thank MP Scott. Now, as MP Scott steps away, the constituents of Sands North will have a new candidate. It is my pleasure to announce the candidate for Sands North. Mrs. Lynn Simmons has ably served our country as Attorney General since our election in 2017. During this time in office, she has done incredible work. She increased penalties for sexual offenses committed against children and brought forward new offenses such as luring. She is the first Attorney General to have public disclosures of sex offenders and made sure that that registry was implemented. She modernized jury selection by providing equality between Crown and defendants' challenges to jurors, and she expunged criminal convictions of those who were convicted of simple possession for under 7 grams of cannabis, in addition to implementing the decriminalization of cannabis. In addition to her good work on legal reform, the work of which she has done in her responsibility as the minister responsible for the Department of Child and Family Services has been nothing short of incredible. And though people focus on the negative aspects and the challenges of which we may sometimes encounter, I have seen firsthand the positive work and the dedication of the Attorney General, the care of which she has for the children that are charged with her care, and the care of which she has for our families knows no bound. Someone had asked me before whether or not I have confidence in the Attorney General in this role, and I said I can think of no one better in any party to serve in the role of which she serves, making sure that she keeps our children's interests at heart. What I will say is that she is connected to the community of Sands North and has lived there most of her married life. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the Progressive Labor Party for constituency number 36, Sands North, the Attorney General, Ms. Lynn Simmons.
Honorable Premier, PLP family, executive members, and voters of Constituency 36, family and friends. I am pleased to accept the invitation from our Honorable Premier and the Constituency 36 branch membership to stand as the candidate for Constituency 36 Sands North in the 2020 general election. I would like to acknowledge Michael Scott, JP, MP, for his support of my candidacy and for his loyal and dedicated service to the C36 community and indeed to Bermuda. I have fond and lasting memories of being a newlywed bride and raising my 3 sons. There's one right there. In the beautiful part of God's country that is C36. Memories of our German Shepherd puppies, Ike and Tina, yes, Ike and Tina, reported as frolicking near Dean's Bakery while we were at work, and of the same 2 puppy culprits, chasing Mr. Bascom's cows into Long Bay, resulting in several visits from a very irate farmer. Riding out of Charing Cross stables with Orby Showers, Hillbilly, Lumpy, and the kind and caring Max Mabry, who looked after Cheddar, family dinners at Loyalty Inn, fishing off Public Wharf, and Sands people who knew your every move. In July 2017, I had the honor of being appointed as the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs and Government Lead in the Senate. I was privileged to advance the government's legislative agenda through the Senate with the able assistance of an excellent Senate team, who are not only my colleagues, they have become my friends. Former Senator Jason Hayward, JP, MP, Senator Vance Campbell, JP, Senator Crystal Caesar, JP, Senator Anthony Richardson, JP, and Senator Ianthea Wade, JP. I salute you today and wish you every success on the next phase of your political journey. With the exception of God and my family, there are 2 things that have contributed significantly to keeping me grounded and focused during this journey of service to the people of Bermuda. The first is the huge plaque that confronts visitors to the Attorney General's chambers, listing the names of all Attorneys General from 1698 to the present. From Nicholas Trott in 1698 until 1998, the exception of Elliot Motley QC, every Attorney General was a white male from the ruling oligarchy, mirroring to a large extent the composition of our legislature for hundreds of years. That plaque provides a stark reminder that much work remains to be done to dismantle the economic, legal, political, and social constructs that have served to disadvantage Bermudians of African descent in this country. The second is the picture at the entrance of my office of Dame Lois Brown Evans, Bermuda's first female Attorney General and former leader of the Progressive Labor Party. The picture reminds me that our ancestors sacrificed and fought against injustice, paving the way to make it possible for me to come before you today to offer my continued service. Remembering and acknowledging our collective and personal histories is a continued source of strength and guidance. Lest we forget from whence we have come. Constituents, friends, and family, these reminders have compelled me, even against a backdrop of political hostility and cynicism, to focus on service. Together with the dedicated, competent team of civil servants within the Ministry of Legal Affairs, to whom I extend my sincere gratitude, I am proud of the achievements that have contributed to the transformation of Bermuda's legal and social framework, some of which are as follows. The implementation of Bermuda's Statutory Law Reform Commission by the appointment of the first commissioners led by Chair, former Attorney General Michael Scott, JP, MP, charged with the systemic reform and modernization of our laws. Continuation of this government's commitment to providing apprenticeship and internship opportunities for our young people by reviving and funding the pupillage program within the ministry to enable law graduates to obtain the training necessary to qualify to be admitted to practice as barristers and attorneys. Enacting Bermuda's first comprehensive child safeguarding regime that the Premier has mentioned to enhance provisions and measures for the protection of children and other persons from sexual exploitation and sexual abuse. Protecting our communities, which I'm absolutely proud of, by disclosing information to the public for the first time in our history in relation to sex offenders who are considered to present a risk of significant harm to the health and safety of the public. Modernization of the jury selection process to achieve a fairer and more equitable process, and leading national public policy consultation to advance the establishment of a regulated cannabis scheme for Bermuda aimed at achieving safe, controlled use and sale of cannabis through a regulatory and licensing regime. And finally, providing for a process to remove or expunge historic criminal convictions for simple possession of less than 7 grams of cannabis to rid our society of the unfairness, especially to our young black men, of harsh drug enforcement and criminal justice practices long recognized as having a lifetime impact on the education and employment prospects of our youth. If elected as a Member of Parliament for Constituency 36, the same care and confident leadership I have applied to national issues and that you have also seen from our Premier during the current pandemic, I will give to issues that affect our community. However, there is no such thing as a team of one. Together, we will build the relationships necessary to mentor the young people and support single parents in our constituency whose circumstances may demonstrate a need for urgent interventions. Together, we will ensure and advocate for the continued well-being of our seniors and persons with disabilities. Together, we will address long-standing infrastructure issues that affect the quality of life of the residents in Birds Island Village and find a solution for the historic buildings at Albert Road that can benefit the community. Together, we can create options for economic development for Dockyard, Somerset Village, and other community areas in conjunction with the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation, REDCO, and community partners. Together, we will develop our constituency by developing our people and ensure that they understand the power of their collective voice to achieve transformation in the community and to hold their elected officials to account. Remember, we are here to serve you. In closing, to the residents of Constituency 36, I would be honored to have the opportunity to bring vision and energy to our constituency as your Member of Parliament. My pledge to you is that we will work as a caring collective to advance the best interests of our community because we are stronger together. I repeat, we are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you, AG, and I am confident that if elected, you will continue your excellent record of service for the persons of Sand North.
You're supposed to say Lynn.
Don't want to be too. Now, I am incredibly excited to introduce Ms. Lindsey Simmons as the Progressive Labor Party candidate for Constituency 12 Devonshire South Central. And I remember when the chairman of the candidates committee wrote me and said that, Lindsey Simmons has applied. I was like, Lindsay, you mean? And he said, yes. I was like, and I was just so overjoyed because I have known Lindsay and known her service, and I was just thrilled. And so in this, I want to make sure that we are clear. I believe that Ms. Simmons can win constituency number 12 because I believe that when voters compare the record between Ms. Simmons, who has lived in the constituency since she was 11 and has dedicated herself to community and to community service, with her opponent, they will see a clear contrast. Her opponent has no connection to the area and has taken the community for granted. And it is our belief that there should be no safe seats in Bermuda. Ms. Simmons, on the other hand, has an impressive record of service. This saint among us has been a foster parent to 20 children in Bermuda. And if that does not show a commitment to Bermuda and Bermudians, I do not know what does. She has served as president of the Bermuda Foster Parents Association and has been forceful in her advocacy for foster parents. She will be an incredible advocate for the residents of Constituency 12, and I am incredibly proud today to introduce her as the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party candidate for Constituency number 12. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Lindsey Simmons.
Honorable Premier, PLP family, executive members, Constituency number 12, family and friends, good morning. My name is Lindsey Simmons, and I am a mother of one and have been a foster parent to many. I was educated at Gilbert Institute, West Pembroke Primary School, the Berkeley Institute, and Kaiser University. I was born and raised in Bermuda and have always believed in giving back. My parents have instilled in their children that it takes a village to raise you. In 1998, when I watched the PLP win their first general election, I was elated. I couldn't wait until I was able to vote, because I was only 17. My father explained to me that years ago, women and people of color were not able to vote. My father explained to me, he told me that it is not only my right, but it's my privilege to vote. Not exercising your right to vote means you can't complain. Every vote counts. I would encourage everyone to vote. I have been living in Constituency 12, Devonshire South Central, since I was 11 years old. My daughter was born there. She is being raised in that constituency. Constituency 12 is dear to me because this is where my family has laid their roots. I wouldn't want to run in any other constituency. When asked how I felt about running an OBA stronghold, I didn't mind, because as long as I can remember, the last person I saw in my neighborhood was John Barrett. It is time that someone represents us and not just comes out during an election to get a vote. I would love to be the face of my constituency, and if elected, I guarantee that I will work hard for my community after the election. I know that I have the upper hand. I know that my upper hand is that I live there and I am in for the fight. But I stand firm with the PLP. I stand firm that the PLP is doing what is needed in order to move our country forward. I chose to join the PLP to ensure that my daughter and the future generation has a bright and stable future. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown me that the PLP was proactive in safeguarding all of us. The government went over and beyond to keep Bermuda and her people safe. Tough decisions had to be made, and they stood by them. I have never been more proud of the PLP than I am today. Children are definitely my passion, and I will fight for them. And I want all children to be in safe hands. And education is also top on my agenda. When the late, great Chadwick Boseman gave a speech about Denzel Washington, I listened to his words, and I took his words and applied it to the PLP. An offering from a sage and a king is more than silver and gold. It is a seed of hope, a bud of faith. There is no future without the PLP. My whole generation stands on the shoulders of the PLP. The daily battles won, the thousands of votes gained, the many sacrifices that the PLP has made since 1963 for our future and the future of our children. The things that the PLP refused to compromise along the way laid the blueprints for us to follow. And so now let he who has been watered be watered, and let he who has been given be given too. It is an honor to be a part of the PLP, to learn from the great leadership, and to join in this work with them. I would like to thank the Honorable Premier, my mentor, Minister Colonel David Birch, my family, friends, for believing in me. Without your support, I wouldn't be here today. May God continue to bless Bermuda and her people.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. And as I said, it is an incredible pleasure to have you on this team. And I look forward to canvassing with you and voting for you as I am a resident of constituency number 12. With that, we will be taking questions first from myself, then we'll pass to Attorney General, and then we'll pass to Ms. Simmons. Any questions for me?
Mr. Premier, what's the latest situation on the docks?
The latest situation on the docks is that I am confident that the Minister of Labor, through his mediation and work, has gotten to a place where there's hopeful resolution. I did just leave the Bermuda Industrial Union. I was at another engagement, and I do believe that the General Counsel will be meeting at 12, and hopefully there'll be news to announce in the near future. But the role of government is to mediate disputes and to serve as the neutral party in between, and so we believe that we fulfilled our aim and objective in this regard.
I know both of the Bermuda would have been past this point right now, but to have another white candidate running for the PLP,
Well, I'm going to let Lindsay. But what I will say is that the Progressive Labor Party is a diverse coalition, and whether a person's heritage, whether or not they are white, black, or in between, we accept all. And the fact is that the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party is going to continue to represent all persons. There is a challenge in our community where persons are looked upon from one way or the other. But I think, as Lindsay said in her candidate interview, what did you say?
That I will represent Devonshire South Central to the best of my ability, and yeah, I'm mixed. I'm half black, half white. My family comes from around the curve, so I will represent Bermuda well.
Is it done? Anyone else for me, or should I pass the AG? Okay.
Yes. There was an editorial by Greg Cannonier saying there was confusion over COVID, over the safety of people and voting. He mentioned that those who are in quarantine, having travelled, might not be able to attend a polling station. Could you provide clarity?
I'm happy to provide clarity on that. One of the things that is important to note in our elections is to make sure that we have safe and fair elections. And having safe elections in a period like we are right now is very important. I think that it was a very proactive notice which was put out by the parliamentary registrar, which advised persons, if they are looking to travel or if they are looking to return, the considerations of which they must have in order to make sure that they can vote. That was the purpose of that message, so that people could not say at the last minute they were not informed. It was noted in advance. The government has been very clear in encouraging persons not to travel unless it is absolutely necessary to do so. And I think what was effective is laying out what the requirements are and what you have to consider in mind if you want to make sure that you may not be affected by quarantine regulations. That much being said, I do know that there was a meeting between political parties. I do know that there was also discussions with the governor. But one thing that we want to do is to make sure that everyone has the ability to exercise their right to vote. I'm not going to give into the mantra of confusion of what the opposition leader says. We are going to make sure that we have a safe election. That is the reason why we have made sure that any poll worker, the poll workers can be tested to ensure that people feel safe and confident. We've expanded the time for advance voting, and I'm confident that we will have a safe election.
Thanks. Is there anything you can do, you say, for those people where travel is absolutely necessary? They have to travel. Is there anything?
What I will say is that as I had indicated in my previous answer, I had my regular meeting with the governor today. The governor has certainly will be speaking with the parliamentary registrar as there was engagement with both parties. I'm not going to, I would say, take the position of the opposition leader to try to have those discussions which are taking place behind the scenes in public. What we want to make sure to do is that everyone has the opportunity to exercise their right to vote, and I'm certain that the parliamentary registrar, recognizing that that is her ability and responsibility, will do so. But the notice of which was put out was to make sure that persons will take into account the considerations prior to electing to travel, or if they're looking to return home, the things that they should be aware of.
And in retrospect, would it have been easier to look at an option of mailing voting? And is that a possibility at this late stage?
In retrospect, possibly, but the fact is that it is not a possibility at this stage, and what the parliamentary registrar is going to do is to make sure that we have a safe election so that everyone can have the ability to exercise the right to vote. People should be aware of the time of which we're in, and the notification of which was given out was so persons can plan accordingly. It was put out way in advance. It wasn't anything about last minute, and so persons can make sure that they plan accordingly.
Those that may not be eligible to vote because of quarantine, are you worried that may affect voter turnout?
I'm not worried because I know that the parliamentary registrar, after my conversation with the governor today and following discussions with both political parties yesterday, is going to make sure that she can do everything under the current law to ensure that everyone has the ability to vote. Good. All right. I'll pass it over to the AG.
Ms. Simmons, you talked about constructs that still need to change. What are some of those constructs you feel should change for the better?
There are constructs such as work equity that we're looking at. We need to have fair employment processes and opportunities for all. As we reform our law, and the chair is behind you, we are always mindful of any type of legislation that serves to disadvantage any demographic of our society, and so it's a constant and continuing exercise that we take. That's just one example, and you would see recently that we made amendments with regard to, as I just said earlier, the jury selection process, which was, before this time, not even considered to present any inequity for a certain demographic, meaning our young black males. And so as we go along this road of law reform, there will be constant change that reflects the mandate that we have with regard to that.
You talked about making sure things are fair for each demographic in society. But why is government still pursuing its case against same-sex marriage?
The role of the government and the legislature is to reflect the mores of the society at large, and so the majority of our population is not in favor of same-sex marriage. Our role is to reflect that in our legislative framework. If that view changes over time as society matures or society changes its social values, then the legislative framework will follow suit. Good morning.
You've spoken quite a lot about the homeless population and during COVID and how the government was able to help the homeless during that period. Pandemic is passing, they're still there. Are there any plans in place for possibly a permanent facility for the homeless in Bermuda, which has been in the works for quite some years, for decades now?
Sure. You will be aware that we have homeless accommodation through our grant that we provide to the Salvation Army. What we did during the pandemic was make sure we forced the relationships that are necessary to build trust with that population. And when we closed the shelter, we made sure that they all had information that gave them access to the services that will assist them. The homeless population consists of various persons who have various needs. We have some who have addiction, dysfunction, we have some who have mental health issues, and we have some who simply have fallen afoul of the normal construct for society. What our role is to make sure that we have the services that can be made available to them, but of course it's always the government's role to make sure that we have sufficient housing for them, and it's a continuous exercise. What we did find during the pandemic, particularly when we closed the shelter, was that Salvation Army did not have sufficient beds, but there were some of that population who were not interested in seeking that accommodation. So what we've tried to do is meet them where they are to make sure that they're, as I said, aware of the services that they can avail themselves of, particularly when it comes to health services. So it's a continuous exercise that we commit to undertaking.
Okay, can you speak to why you've been named as a co-defendant in 5 civil lawsuits?
I am not here to discuss private matters, and as a party we don't discuss private matters. Those matters are a matter of public record, and so as you've come here today, I'm sure you know the answer to your question. They are not any type of suits that impact on my candidacy today, and I think that's what will be of concern to the people of Constituency 36.
Just in relation to Don's question, you say the PLP wants to represent the majority of your voters. Is that an all-out rule? I mean, say the majority of voters think that homeless people should stay on the street. Do you reflect that just because it's the majority?
I think that's a very disingenuous question. We have a social agenda, and this party has always had one, and that will reflect our mandate going forward. So to put the homeless population and their needs in a construct that is not one that reflects our party, I think is not productive today.
If it's not, maybe perhaps it's not the homeless, or an issue that you see as unjust.
Unjust issues are always determined and resolved by this party through the legislature.
Good morning, Ms. Simmons. Do you have an update for us on cannabis reform? I understand that there was a public consultation period where you received several feedback from the public. Do you anticipate any changes?
The policy changes that have come from the consultation, I'm pleased to say that the public really weighed in and informed our policy considerations. We have taken those considerations to the Cabinet. The Cabinet has weighed in, and we're making the amendments to the policy accordingly, and we will inform the public in due course as to the direction of that project.
Do you expect to make an announcement before October 1st?
We will go back with the changes to Cabinet. It will depend on the Premier's schedule for that. But it's likely that we will give an update before October 1st.
Anyone else for the AG? We're getting good at this microphone booth.
Ms. Simmons.
Hi, Mr. Burgess.
Which one?
With you being such a philanthropist in the community, helping out with so many different groups, if elected, how do you feel like that might impact all the other things that you do to help out the community?
I think it's two different hats that I will wear. I believe that giving back to the community is something that should always happen, whether elected or not. That's something that's a passion that's within me, and I would do it. You can. Obviously, I can wear the PLP hat and begin out soliciting for the Foster Parent Association, but I will be doing that as the president of the Foster Parent Association and not as a member of Parliament.
What do you think is the main issue, if elected, that you would go about tackling in your constituency?
The main issue, I think, is education right now. I believe that the children are our future and that we need to make the correct decisions for our children. As somebody that teaches in the system, there are things that need to be fixed, and the PLP is doing what they have to in order to ensure that the middle school system is wiped away with soon. So we're working on that right now. Morning.
Done a lot with foster parenting in your time.
Yes.
And the issue of status often comes up, familial status often comes up with parents and foster families and having mixed status with those. Do you have any views on any way forward for foster families to gain status in Bermuda?
I'm not sure how many foster parents are not Bermudian. I didn't have that number with me right now. But I believe that Mr. Haywood, MP Haywood, laid out how you can apply for status. And I think that that's the way forward, begin through the application process.
Do you know how many foster children there are in Bermuda?
I believe the last time I was told it was 87. You're welcome.
We will potentially be going up against the opposition leader. Do you consider that a daunting task?
No, I'm in it to win it, and I believe that I lived there. I didn't come here for a safe vote, and like I said in my rollout speech, that's my community. It's not somewhere where I'm just trying to win votes. I mean, I could have asked the premier put me somewhere where it's a PLP stronghold, but if I'm gonna win, I want to win because the people in my constituency want to vote for me to win.
Any more questions? All right. With that, I just want to say welcome. Thank you to all who attended this rollout today. As I said, the Progressive Labor Party is honored to have such wonderful candidates joining and building our slates. And we'll be back here again tomorrow for additional candidate announcements. So in closing, I want to say thank you to Ms. Simmons and thank you to Ms. Simmons.
Thank you.